The other one was something else. We'd go not only to Kunming, we'd fly to Yiping, Sui-Fu on the Yangtze, just near Chongqing. And it was quite an operation because Lijiang Mountain is right there halfway, almost 20,000 feet. And there's a small runway that CNAC has built, not for operation, only to serve as a base to give help to our radio operators that operate a radio station for us. Excuse me, because in the bad weather, couldn't see the mountain, so we used the radio to go around. So that's what that mainly was for. I had a new co-pilot, American, who had made 4 flights. And each one he had a problem with somebody, engine failure or something would happen. So his nickname was Jinx Bennett. So Jinx was assigned to me. And we flew, we got to Sui-Fu. It couldn't let down because of the heavy fog. So we tried for half an hour more, another airplane, NASA. Couldn't do it, so we taken the fuel on board our airplanes. So we went to Kunming, and we dumped our load there, and they weren't expecting us, so we had nothing. We were empty to come back from Kunming back to Dinjan. And now it was getting late in the evening, and there's very little twilight. Well, as soon as the sun goes down, it gets dark, like putting a lid right over you. So we'd crossed past Dali Mountain and thing, and into the, I think it was then the Mekong River, and now it's pitch black night, and stars were gone, clouds were building up, and I had ship 56 was a seafarer with very little equipment, and it was cold. So we climbed on up, I got up to 18,000 feet, and we up, saw some stars for a few minutes, then it got cloudy again. And now I learned one thing, as I told you. I kept the antenna in the null position and kept my sliding window, cockpit window, open, because if the ice collects on the windshield, you don't see. And so you can see out the side. And this I did. And somewhere along there, we have a rather strange type of phenomenon, which is a lot of these clouds, even if it's 20 or 30 degrees below zero, will have pre-cooled ice raindrops. They're not frozen, even though it's 20 below zero. It's still water, but they're waiting for a shock or something before they will freeze. And that forms hail. So this is what I evidently ran into, or flew into. And it wasn't about 5 or 10 minutes, I had tons of this clear ice on my airplane. Though I had these de-icing boots, they could only oscillate and operate underneath, but the octopus ice was on the outside, and it made no difference. So I turned on the headlight, landing light, couldn't see anything, it was just dull glow. And the airplane was, I could tell, was weighing. So we started to lose altitude, all the way down to about 12,000 feet. And we had parachutes. And I knew the bail out or not, whether we'd passed the last ridge from the Salween over, which is about 14 to 16,000 feet. I must have made it, I'm here. But at that time, it was neck and tuck. But we were down 11,500, 12,000 feet. But I couldn't get rid of this ice. It was winter time. It was January, I think, of 1944. So I told Jinx, I said, "You'd like to fly this for a minute and see what I mean by weight?" He got scared to death. He never felt an airplane that could barely move. But luckily, thank goodness that Pratt & Whitney and Douglas got married, because they made a very fine airplane, the C-53 and C-47s. So I waited and going along through the Burma Valley, but I thought I better, because of these hellacious winds that come up, I decided to turn to the left more, another 10 degrees. And But I didn't want to go too far, I'll be wind up over Rangoon. So I stayed for a while and tried to look, there's nothing, there's blackness and clouds going. But then I had a problem. The fuel, you had only so much to get back to a base, and my ETA telling me my 3.5 hours would be up. And I said, but finally, I couldn't get any static. I couldn't get any radio or nothing for a while. Finally, we picked up Chabwa Airport, radio people there, and told them that we had a problem and they wanted to know what the weather was. They said, well, it's about 10,000 feet clear. I told them we were 11,500, 12,000 feet in the soup, in and out. Eventually, after a while, I said to Jinx, I said, if we don't break out, and I said, the weather, I said, do you want to jump? He almost jumped through the airplane. He said, what's the matter? I said, well, I said, you know very well what's the matter. I said, we haven't broken through, we're 12,000 feet. I said, over there is Mount Everest. And I said, we got about 30 more minutes of fuel. We got to make a decision pretty quick. Jinx got really frightened. He thought, I said, well, this is the decision, you know. I said, we got just these 3 minutes. I said, the fuel is almost out also. And it wasn't long after that, I saw a light. I thought I saw a light down there. And I looked and I said, no more clouds. And then sure enough, it was a couple of minutes and there's a whole lot of lights. So I cut the power and went down. And there it was, all of the Assam Valley in my screen, all beautiful. So I knew where I was south of where we should be. I followed back. And I landed, but I still had all this ice on me. I landed, got into the thing, and Captain Woods received me. He said, what happened, what happened? And I told him. And now chunks of the ice started to fall off the wings. And I tried to, because Jinx was still kind of nervous. I said, Woody, I said, I brought all this ice for you, and you didn't bring me any scotch. He laughed, and then Jinx came up and said, Woody, I just quit. He said, that's it. So he went home. So that was another experience.
When the AVG disbanded, 1942, quite a few of the pilots went over to CNAC, right? So was CNAC able to profit from their experience, having been in...
Oh yes, because we need pilots badly, and they got there ahead of me because I was in Pan Africa and they were AVG. So they got there and got their training, and they already got seasoned in understanding the climate and the peoples and this sort of thing, and the food. And so they got to sort of stabilize and understand the life they would be leading. And it turned out to me that these group of about 20-odd pilots were really the nucleus of our CNAC operation to start with. They came in there, and before long they were flying the Hump. Yes, they added a lot to us, I think, and greatly appreciated their effort. I think it was great that they joined us. And there are a bunch of great guys. But we had a conglomeration of people. Not only the AVG guys, we had one that once was a Bible salesman. We had a preacher. We had one time actor. We had a guy that was a marksman with a pistol that worked for a Colt company. And there was me, a Hindu-speaking guy. So all of us together, different types of people were there in all parts of the United States. We had a Danish guy there. We had Sid DeCancer, who was Australian. So it was a mixed-up group, and the mechanics were fine. We had Solinsky, who put that DC 2.5 together. All this, Dr. Richards was an AVG guy, and he used to take care of us. Yes, they added a lot to our operation.